In this video, we are going to be solving rational equations. So we're going to have the equation that we're going to get is going to have a variable in the denominator, and we're going to have to figure out how to solve that. So the situation that we have is you have a 1/3 sump pump that can remove water from Martha's flooded basement in 48 minutes, and a different sump pump can complete the same job in 30 minutes. How long would it take for the two pumps together to pump out the basement? So we kind of have to break this down into what each one can do. So here's the way I look at this. And so we're going to figure out how to generalize this. So we have, I'll make a little bit of a table. We have minutes, and we have the Gempler sump pump, and then we have the Liberty. So a way to think of this is in 1 minute, the Gempler, it takes 48 minutes, would get 1/48 of the job done, and the Liberty would get 1/30 of the job done. So in 2 minutes, you'd have 2/48 of the job done on this one, and 2/30 of the job done with this one. If you went to 3 minutes, you'd have 3/48 of the job done and 3/30 of the job done. So if we continue that, what we're looking for is X minutes. So if we did X minutes, we would have X out of 48 of the job done, because we don't know how many minutes that is. And this one would have X out of 30 of the job done. So here's what we do with those two. This is a fraction of the job, and this is the other fraction of the job. So if they work together, the way that you can approach this is you would take the Gempler would be that fraction of the job, and the Liberty would be this fraction of the job, and together they make the job. So we would make it equal to 1 whole. So now we'd have to figure out how to go about solving this. So we need common denominators. We need these two to, this one has a 48, this one has a 30. I mean, I could really try to find the least common denominator, but most likely this is a calculator problem anyway, so I'm just going to multiply this one by 30. I'm going to multiply this by 48, top and bottom. Actually, do this a little bit cleaner. My least common denominator, maybe, or just a common denominator, is going to consist of 30 times 48. That would guarantee me a denominator. So to be honest, I'm just going to multiply each of them by 30 and 48. 48 and 30. 30 and 48. So I'm going to multiply every single piece by this, because it's going to guarantee me a common denominator. What it's actually going to do is, if I don't multiply the top and the bottom where I worry about common denominators, I can clear out my fractions, which is a much faster, more efficient approach. So by finding the least common denominator, or a common denominator, if I multiply that by every single piece, I can clear out my denominator. So I'm not going to multiply this, because what I see is that 48 can cancel with that 48, that 30 can cancel with that 30, and so now I have 30x plus 48x equaling whatever this multiplied out to, 1440. Now I have a pretty straightforward algebra equation, so I'll put these two together. That gets me a 78x equaling 1440 divided by 78, and x is approximately 18.46 minutes. So it would take roughly almost 19 minutes if the two were doing the job together. All right, so that was the first example, and then we'll have 2 more examples to look at.